Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I'm Aaron, and joining with me today is my male bearded dragon, Aries. Now, the last time you guys saw him, he would have been a lot smaller, and I believe I would have referred to him as Xena. But after a lot of research, turns out he's actually a male. He's just sort of chilling on my shoulder right now. He's a very friendly bearded dragon. He was the first ever reptile that I actually owned, and he's sort of the one that got me into wanting to own more reptiles. So we can thank it all to Aries. The point of this video today is to do an update on all my reptiles. So I have 3 reptiles apart from my turtle, but we're going to be doing an update on my blue-tongued skink and my 2 bearded dragons. Now, a lot has changed with their enclosure since I last did an update on it. They are all bioactive now, and there is no fake plants or any fake matter in them whatsoever. But I'm really keen to share that with you guys today, so let's go check it out. Alright, so these are my 2 bearded dragon enclosures. Now, they are both made by Reptile 1. The top one here is a Reptile 1 1260 HXT. And the bottom one down here is a 1260 HTD. Now, they are the same in length and width, but their height is what makes them apart. This one is taller than this one is. This one actually used to be Xena's / Aries' old habitat, but the reason why I decided to upgrade him into a bigger one is because he was always climbing up to the top of the branches and everything that I had down in this one below. So I thought he must really like to be up high, so that's why I ended up getting him the taller enclosure. Now we'll start off with Aries' enclosure up here. That is him there. He's a very chunky boy. He is extremely friendly. He loves his scratches. He is a beautiful orange color. He's definitely a beautiful bearded dragon. He's beautiful natured. He actually just recently went through a shed, so he's very vibrant in colors at the moment. Try and get a close-up of him. There he is. Such a beautiful lizard. Now, I'll start off with the substrate that I use. It's just a very simple substrate. I just went down to Bunnings, the local hardware store in Australia, and I just got some plain garden soil. I made sure there was no additives like fertilizer or just anything like that. So it's just plain soil, all natural, because last thing you want to do is be adding fertilized soil into your bearded dragon's habitat and then ingest it, and it could be fatal. So you just always make sure that anything that you add into your reptiles' enclosures has no fertilizer in, because if they ingest it, you just don't want it causing them any harm. And then we also just have some sugarcane mulch mixed in with it, some cocoa fiber, and some sphagnum moss. Now, I have the cocoa fiber mixed in there with it to hold the moisture, because I wanted to avoid having to water as much as possible, so I didn't get any stagnant water sitting in the bed. So I decided to add some cocoa fiber to help absorb some of the water to keep the plants watered. And I just sort of topped it off with the sugarcane just so as he's roaming around on the bottom, he's not getting any dirt or anything stuck to the bottom of his skin. And it's also lined with his sand that used to be in his other enclosure. And just as plants, we just have some jade variety. So here is one here growing in nicely. We also have a smaller leaf jade back here. This one is growing in even bigger than this one is. And I don't know, I forgot the name of this one. These are all reptile safe plants. I had a look on, I think it was Bioactive's website. They had a whole list of plants that were safe to put into your reptile's habitat. So I definitely had a look at that before buying any plants from Bunnings that day, just because I wanted to make sure that if they got a bit hungry and they were to ingest any of the plants that were in his habitat, that they weren't going to end up dying or get sick from it. And then we just have some Zero stone, just a nice little spot for him to sit up and bask on, or just cool down on, to be honest, because the only place that really gets extremely hot in his enclosure right now is this bit of the log, where he is now. And believe it or not, I actually just went down to the local bush and picked these up off of the ground. They were some old dead trees. I'm guessing they got knocked down when we had a really bad storm one time, and they've just been laying there for a while. I did pour some boiling water over them. I gave them a really good scrub down to make sure there was nothing on the wood that I couldn't see, because you obviously don't want to be bringing in any bad or harmful bacterias or just really anything, some foreign insects or anything that are outside in the bush. You don't want to be bringing them into their enclosure, just in case they end up you know, doing stuff that you don't want them to do within your enclosure. Here we just have his little hidey hole. Just in there I have some sugarcane mulch. He usually goes in there around winter time. He'll just lay around. He usually comes very slow around winter, even though I do leave all the heaters on, but that is usually his favorite spot to go in winter. I think that is pretty much all, apart from just his UVB bowl, which is a Arcadia T5. Is it going to focus? There you go, it's a T5. Now this one is a 14% bulb. Now I went with the 14% because it's stronger. And then we just have a Arcadia heat emitter in here. So once the heat in the enclosure drops down below 14% of a nighttime, this will kick in and keep it ambient at that temperature. And then just at the back we just have some thermometers which connect to this dongle here. That is the cool side, and then the hot side. You always want your cool side, which is the opposite side to where the heater is, to be a lot cooler than what the hot side is, so they can always vacate the hot side if they're feeling overly heated and move over to the cold side. And last on this habitat tour, we just have an aquarium light, believe it or not, powering the plants on this habitat here. It's just a cheap one that I got off of eBay. It's doing quite well, to be honest with you. The plants are doing semi alright. They could be doing much better. This jade isn't doing too well here. I actually had to remove a jade that was, I think, around this area because it just wasn't getting enough light. It's now in Zeus's enclosure, who we'll move on to now. He's just hiding away at the moment. I'll leave him in there. I won't pull him out just yet. Now I use the same substrate as I did in Aries' enclosure down here. So we just had some garden soil, some sphagnum moss, sugarcane mulch, and just some sand and cocoa fiber in here. Once again, just to keep it all nice and moist, and I'm not having to constantly water, because you don't want to be over watering a bearded dragon's enclosure, because it can raise the humidity within the habitat, which can honestly be quite fatal towards them, just because where they come from, it's in the desert in Australia, actually where I'm from. So it is a very dry heat. They don't like humidity whatsoever. But this was the jade plant that I was talking about that used to be in Aries' enclosure, and it wasn't doing too well. As you can see, all the leaves are dropped off. The aloe vera over here, however, is doing very good. And we just have his watering bowl, ceramic bowl. Believe it or not, bearded dragons don't actually usually drink from water bowls. They usually get their water from the food that you give them. Once again, I got these logs from down at the bush, which I live literally probably maybe like 50 meters from, so it's nice and close to me, so whenever I need some new branches, I just pop on down to the bush. The rocks, I went for dragonstone in here. Have some over here. This all came from my old aquariums that I used to have set up, but I no longer have them set up, so I thought rather than just wasting space, I'd bring them into my reptile habitats. And it also looks kind of nice in here, not gonna lie. Now this one isn't as friendly. Like, he's friendly, he doesn't bite. He might flare up, but he doesn't like to be handled as much as Aries does, unfortunately. But this is Zeus here. He is a male bearded dragon. I believe he's like a Het Zero Bearded Dragon, which is where he gets the grey coloration from. He's absolutely beautiful. I was actually wanting to get either this sort of coloration or an all red one, but I came across this one first on Gumtree from a breeder, and I fell in love with him, and he is an absolutely stunning lizard. Just look at the colors on this guy. He's actually going through a molt at the moment. As you can see, this is the only old skin that he has on his body. I have been giving him some warm baths just to help him with that process of shedding, but he's absolutely adorable. Now what I might actually do now is move you guys into the spare room where you will be able to see Hades and his enclosure. Now Hades is my blue tongue skink, so let's go check out his enclosure now. This is Hades, my blue tongue skink's enclosure. Now I've had him since sometime in March last year. He has grown drastically since you guys would have last officially saw him. He is doing great. And just like the bearded dragon's enclosures, his is also all bioactive. Believe it or not, but I usually used to have these fake plants, these nasty fake plastic plants, all in their enclosures. I had this as a backdrop. but now I've just sort of used it to just add some greenery on top of his habitat, which I actually think looks quite nice, to be honest with you. It just didn't look that appealing though when it was in their habitats, but now I actually really like this setup. The Bioactive enclosures just really stand out to me, and they're one of my favorite things. I'm extremely glad. Don't mind that, we're actually just going through a bit of a thunderstorm at the moment. I chose the worst time to film, but it's nice and cool, so I'm happy about that. But this is just so much more appealing to look at than just a bunch of fake plastic plants in their habitat. And the plants seem to be loving it in Hades' enclosure especially. Look how vibrant and green that is. Once again, I don't even think I'm watering this that much, to be honest. Whenever I have to empty this bowl, which is usually daily, but it drops down quite a lot just because of evaporation, and he does drink it quite a lot. I usually just empty it on some of the plants every day, and they seem to be loving it in here. And the substrate is all the exact same as what's in the Bearded Dragon enclosure. So we just have some garden soil, some sand, some cocoa fiber within the substrate, some sphagnum moss on top, as well as some sugarcane mulch. And we also do have some isopods, some mealworms I added to the substrate that actually escaped from when I was feeding them. But they're thriving in here. I've seen little babies pop around. They're absolutely loving it in this enclosure. And as you can see, all the plants are much more vibrant and green than they are in the Bearded Dragon enclosures. You can see here, this one even recently flowered, which is really good. I really wish I knew the name of these. If I find what these are, I'll pop it up on the screen now, just so you guys know what plant it is, but these are growing great. So this side is Hades' hot side. This is usually his basking area. It has turned off because it has reached the 32-degree heat that I have it set to. Here's his little thermometer so it knows when to switch off. I have a thermometer on all the reptiles' basking zones. Unfortunately, you won't see Hades today. He is having a little snooze. He's just in there. You won't be able to see him, unfortunately. He saw me come in with the camera and he hid straight away. So I'm sorry about that. I will try and get some B-roll footage of him if I possibly can and insert it in the video. But if not, I am sorry about that. We just also have some natural wood from down the bush, which is absolutely beautiful in this habitat. Some alpine rocks. Now I went for alpine just because, well, you guys can't feel it. I was about to say, feel how soft it is, but it's just so soft. Blue tongues, they stick to the ground, so you want to make sure that anything on the ground is nice and smooth. So even these logs here are nice and smooth. The rocks over here are very smooth because you don't want anything piercing his stomach as he's moving along. If he gets scared and has some zoomies, you don't want him not noticing something and cutting open his belly. I like to make sure that everything in Hades' enclosure is nice and soft so he doesn't end up injuring himself. Now we have the UVB kit in here by Arcadia. This is a 14% bulb. Once again, you want to make sure that the UVB rays do reach down to here. Now I've tested out the percent and it wasn't near as good as if I didn't have a 14% bulb in here, which is why I ended up having to go with the stronger bulb. Now, apparently blue tongues don't actually really need UVB bulbs, but at the end of the day, I still provide it for them. Here we have his heat emitter. Once again, once the habitat reaches a certain degrees, I believe that his is actually set at 12 degrees, it will turn on and keep his enclosure at an ambient temperature. Now, if anyone is interested in purchasing these Reptile 1 habitats, I personally bought them from Pet City. They are located in Mount Gravatt, Brisbane. And that is usually where I buy all my reptile supplies, just because they're always so reasonably priced. All the people there know what they're talking about. Like, they're generally invested in making sure your reptile gets the best possible care. So I will leave a link down in the description box below for anyone that does live in Australia and wants to go check them out. I believe they do shipping, but I don't think they ship their reptile enclosures. But you can check it out if you do live in Brisbane. I highly recommend going and check them out. They're in Mount Gravatt, a lovely little pet store. They sell fish, reptiles, and they're just really knowledgeable on absolutely everything. Alright guys, that sums it up for this video today. I do hope everyone enjoyed coming along with me and getting an in-depth update of all my reptiles. I'm sorry it was a bit of a longer video than my other videos, but I just really wanted to spend a long time doing a update on them because it has been probably over a year possibly since I last did my update on them, and several stuff has changed within their lives. Now don't forget, I do have several social media accounts which are always down in the description box below if you guys want to go check me out on any one of them. One being TikTok, which I actually recently just started up, and I'm really enjoying the TikTok platform because it allows you to share little short snippets of everything that you get up to in your day-to-day life. I tend to share all my pets on there, so if you guys are interested in going to check me out over there, I tend to upload a lot of pet related content over there, and they don't really go for that long. They're always under a minute long, so it just allows me to share a shorter snippet of their lives, and it's a lot more easier to upload than having to come on YouTube and upload a short or something. Now if you haven't already, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Go share it around to your friends and family, and hopefully you can get them into loving reptiles just as much as you. And as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can stay tuned for content just like this. Now thank you so much for watching this video today guys, and I'll see you in the future. Bye!